We started this week's video here at the Gallery Restaurant set in Nice on Lake Huron.
Our series of videos actually started a couple of weeks ago with our trip to Michigan with the Lexington Community Seniors. That's a group of seniors here in the Lexington, Kentucky area, comprised of about 23 churches of all denominations.
LCS is a travel group that owns its own very nice travel bus and goes on trips all over. When their trip involves land travel, they use the bus. It's a wonderful time of friendship and fellowship that provides travel opportunities for folks in the Lexington area. The next morning, we are back at the Holiday Inn Express breakfast buffet with a beautiful sight overlooking the lake.
So far on the trip, we visited the Ford Transportation Museum, Mackinac Island, and this week we conclude the series of the videos of our trip through the Soo Locks on the Great Lakes. A brief stop at a car show in Frankenmuth, Michigan, and return to visit the Ford Motor Museum's Greenfield Village, where they had exhibits with emphasis on old inventions and running cars of all times.
Our travel begins by heading to Soo Locks.
And here we are arriving at Soo Locks Boat Tour, and there's the sign.
Here we have a World War II icebreaker Mackinac Museum ship used to keep waterways open during the war.
Here we are inside the ticket area and gift shop, with a little time for shopping and a friendly chat.
Now let's get on board our tour boat. The flowers are beautiful along the brick sidewalk.
There goes Dale moving out to lead our people down to the boat as the last group of travelers get off the boat and make way for us.
That's not a fun thing to go through on vacation. He's waiting for you. Yeah, he is. He's
We boarded the upstairs section of the boat, which is open air. The bottom level is enclosed.
We begin our trip through the lock sailing on St. Mary's River.
But in my fantasy, my house is spotless. Well, that's nice.
On our lower deck, our senior engineers Dave will be helping you with all your snack bar refreshments through the trip. We will be sailing on the St. Mary's River for all the tour. The river is approximately 61 miles in length. It is a connecting waterway between Lake Superior, which is still 16 miles ahead of us, to Lake Huron, which is downstream behind us, still 45 miles. On our left now is the Valley Camp Ship Museum. Further inland, the concrete tower that you see is the Tower of History, originally known as the Shrine of the Missionaries. The tower stands 210 feet high and contains 5 observation platforms, which enables visitors to see in all directions. The tower was built as a memorial to the first French missionaries who arrived here over 350 years ago. The tower was built in 1968. Down here on the river, the red and green harbor tugs are owned and operated by Great Lakes Towing Company of Cleveland, Ohio. These are used to assist ocean-going vessels in their approaches to the American Locks.
We passed a large barge along the way.
Inside the boom on top the deck of the Throughout the entire cargo hold is an endless conveyor system. Freighters like this using that system can unload their cargo in about 10 hours.
I know, right?
Overview is locked, wrecked, collapsed into the lock chamber.
That's Canada.
And they need to new lock. The new lock today is 2
Here we are looking over into Canada.
1 feet wide and only 10 feet deep at the foot of the sill. The lock is now strictly used for pleasure craft. Provincial headquarters for the Ontario. Which was launched on January 27, 1992, spending 8 days in space. In 2019, with a whole new timeline. Followed by the friend who St. Louis Park.
Here we are coming into the locks, where they let the water out of our side of the lock. Our boat is sinking down as water runs out into the lake. This takes about 30 minutes. Doesn't involve any pumps or anything. Gravity just does all the
Right
work.
on top of the wall, we see several flags. These flags represent the shipping companies that use the Soo Locks. The tall pole with the capsule on top, that represents the Corps of Engineers. And the Soo Locks are in operation 24/7, right up to the second week of January, when it shuts down until the end of March. Catastrophic failure. This failure would have a significant impact on the U.S. economy. During the navigation season, about 100 million tons of freight passed in.
This message my husband sends to the family because I canceled Christmas.
Leaving the lock after being lowered 21 feet, the boat passes under the International Bridge and visits a Canadian steel mill before returning through the Canadian lock.
Locks to continue on our tour. We're now in the upper St. Mary's River, and it is still 16 miles ahead of us to Lake Superior. Lake Superior has the greatest surface area of any freshwater lake in the world, at 31,700 square miles. Lake Superior contains 2,900 cubic miles of water, or to put it simply, there's enough water in Lake Superior to cover the entire landmass of both North and South America to its...
If you look behind us now, you can see that safety dome being lowered. Shortly after it's locked into the slot on the south side, the gates will begin to close.
If you look to our right on top of the wall, you'll see several flags. These flags represent the shipping companies that use the Soo Locks. The tall pole with the castle on top, that represents the Corps of Engineers. And the Soo Locks are in operation 24/7. Just over the pier to our...
We sailed past the Viking, a river cruise boat, which is able to go into ports that the cruise ships cannot. We waved at the passengers, and they waved back. Looked like a fun ship.
went past the Canadian steel mill. Birds like to warm themselves on the warm rocks there. There are many different types of seagulls.
We're looking here at raw steel manufacturing. So heavy that the semi-trucks can't carry but a couple of these. So the best way to transport these is by seagoing freighters.
Here we are passing the Paul Tragertha freighter.
Here is a railroad track that's raised and lower to allow trains to go through. Hear the horns in the background?
I went to get a drink and the concession stand was not open. It turns out you cannot buy anything until out of Canadian waters. I'm giving a little tour downstairs of the boat. We are coming back. Some of our group are waving at us. There is Glenn waving at me.
Here is the Coast Guard headquarters station.
Founded by the Ontario Bushplane Museum. It was opened in 1986. It was formerly the headquarters of the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources Air Services. The museum contains many restored aircraft, as well as a complete history of the Canadian Forest Fire Services, firefighting seaplanes were first used in 1920. Guide light. The United States and Canadian border runs just beside the boulders. The city of Sault Ste. Marie has a long, colorful history. A young French soldier by the name of Etienne Brulé arrived here in 1620, the same year the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock. He was the first known European to see Lake Superior. At that time, the lake was known as Lake Gitchiguri by the natives here in the area, which meant big water. In 1668, Father Marquette arrived to carry the message of Christianity to the natives. New fur trading posts were established, iron and copper were discovered, the lumbering industry began, and the settlement of Sault Ste. Marie is starting to grow. Again, Sault Ste. Marie is the oldest city to sustain fish.
Every 5 years, commercial boats must be inspected. They bring them out of the water to dry dock to look at their hulls and inspect them for problems. These things that we're looking at here pull the boats up so that it'll look under them. Another site we have is electric generator plant. There was a lot of fishing going on there, and good fish. I mean, they were catching whole stringers of nice big fish. We enjoyed a panoramic view of Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, before returning to the dock.
We went to Lockview Restaurant in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan for a meal. The menu was in a newspaper format. So cool. Established in 1945, a tradition of selling the freshest white fish in the area begun. Went to a car festival and had an outstanding meal at Zyder's Frankenmuth restaurant in Frankenmuth, Michigan. And we had a fried chicken family style meal. The liver pate appetizer was not my favorite, but the cheese and the bread and the apple butter were great. It's a neat place with good food. Downstairs they have a huge bakery with meats and jams and jelly and gift shop. and also another cafe.
Outside the town was having an antique car review. We sat and watched the cars go by. Some really neat cars. It was really a nice day to sit and watch.
They're closing the street at 3 o'clock, so we've got to get out.
That's why he's in a hurry. Okay. I don't know.
Man, here's some beautiful looking antique cars.
Then on to more of our tour.
At the Ford Motor Museum's Greenfield Village, we first took a ride all around the village on a wonderful old steam engine. We made a complete circle of the village to get an overview of everything that was there. The train ride was narrated, so we'll keep quiet and let you have the same experience we did.
Just letting you know, we will be using 2 trains, but the second train will not be coming out until about noon. Wait for the whistle. Today, not only will you be seeing all of our different historic structures here, but you will see over 700 cars from the past, dating from 1890s all the way to 1932. Old Car Festival is a tradition here at Greenfield Village. Please make the motion to talk to the owners of their cars. They'll be more than happy to share the history of your vehicles. The Greenfield Village is divided into 7 different districts, and the very first one is the Henry Ford Model T. Look over to your left, you're going to see a white farmhouse. That's the birthplace of Henry Ford. He was born on July 30th, 1863. Up on the 2nd floor, the oldest of 6 children. After visiting there, walk over to the Ford Motor Company, where you can learn how he came up with a vision of a motor car that changed the world of transportation, the Model T 1908. And then a walk through the village and look at some of our Model Ts. We do have the quadricycle that Henry Ford came up with in 1896, so it's over at our Detroit Central Marketplace. Our next district takes us into Main Street. Here you can visit the home of the Wright brothers and the Wright brothers Cycle Shop, which we refer to as the birthplace of aviation. It was on December 17, 1903 when they took that first flight at Kitty Hawk. We also have Mrs. Cohen's Millinery Shop, where we have staff making hats, just like she did back in 1895, and they are for purchase. Down the streets to Herschel's Tillman Carousel, built in 1913. Take a ride on a 109-year-old carousel with a menagerie of animals to choose. The statue of Thomas Edison leads us into Edison at Works District. Way over to the far left, that brick building is the machine shop, and in front of us, the two-story gray structure upstairs is what we refer to as the first industrial research laboratory. And that's what Thomas Edison is also famous for worldwide, for coming up with that idea. Here it is where he came up with the incandescent light bulb, the phonograph, improving on the telephone and the telegraph. He received over 400 patents while he worked at the Menlo Park complex in New Jersey. And the young men that were single would rent a room over at Sarah Jordan's boarding house. It's that yellow mustard house you see on your left. It made history in December of 1879 because it was the very first home that was fitted for electricity. Going inside, you can see the wires as they draped down the walls. And when he wintered in Florida, he continued working on his inventions at his Fort Myers laboratory from the 1880s until 1931. We come into our porches and parlors district, and here we have over 300 years of American history. We have the home of Robert Frost, the poet, and also the home of Noah Webster. He's the person who came up with the American Dictionary of the English Language back in 1828. And he's also responsible for the blue backsteller, which taught millions of children to read. Go inside and learn more about Noah Webster and his way of teaching. And we also have the Cotswold Cottage. It was built in 1619. It comes from Chuckworth, England. Henry Ford purchased it for his wife Claire as a gift. We are now pulling into the Susquehanna station. Please remain seated. The engineer will set a brake and give us the sound of a single whistle that lets us know it's safe to come off the train. We're going to be here for about 4 minutes, and then we're going to move over to Smiths Creek. Say hello to our station master, Alana, as we pull in.
I don't think so.
Once again, wait until the train comes to a complete stop and you hear that whistle for your safety. Left is the Susquehanna plantation that was built in 1835 from St. Mary's County, Maryland. This plantation used to be 700 acres big. Tobacco was the cash crop. The Carroll family owned the plantation, as they did own 65 African Americans that they enslaved to work the plantation. When you go inside, you'll hear about the hardships that they endured. Next to us, that little orange home is the oldest American home at Greenfield Village. It was built in the late 1600s from Sudbury, Massachusetts. Mr. and Mrs. Plimpton raised 7 children in that home. Imagine that. And we have the Ferris windmill that was built in 1650 from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. It was a gift to Henry Ford from his auto workers. The Daggett family farmhouse comes to us from Andover, Connecticut, that was built in 1754. When you go inside, learn stories of how Samuel Daggett, the carpenter, built this home. He came up with his own heating and cooling system. It's a must to visit. And now... The pasture on your left is a home for relaxation for our draft Bergeron and Morgan horses. They pull our wagons around the Greenfield Village, working the farms as well. The locomotive that's pulling our train right now is the Baldwin number 7. It was built in 1897 by the Baldwin Locomotive Works from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This Baldwin locomotive weighs 60 tons. That includes the tender as well. It has a wheel arrangement of 440, and it holds 3,200 gallons of water in the tender, as well as 5 tons of coal. And the large wheels that you see on this locomotive, they're called are 62 inches tall. Steam locomotives function on just coal and water. Coal is fed into a firebox, reaching really high temperatures, enough to heat the water that's in the boiler in front of the locomotive. When that water converts eventually to steam, steam moves into the pipes that move into the pistons that move the wheels. Essentially, that's how a steam locomotive works. As we pull into the wildlife preserve, enjoy some of the sounds it makes. Look over to your left, you can see that we are readily preparing for our Halloween nights, beginning on October 6th. Tickets are still available if you do go over to guest services. Today we have over 700 vehicles from the 1890s all the way to 1932. Our owners of the vehicles have been wonderfully presented. We'll be asking or having you ask questions of them and want to share as much as they can possibly about their vehicles. We will also have Old Car Festival games right here in Walnut Grove. As we approach, you can see the vehicles are already preparing themselves for the various games that will take place. Do visit over here. Come root it maybe for your very favorite year of the vehicle. Such stunning vehicles. As you move through the village today, you'll enjoy ragtime music, jazz music, and also the food samples will come from different decades of those times. Dancing in the street. Don't forget we have our Pass and Review over on Main Street where you can see cars being described and also judged. It's a wonderful time to see and learn more about the historic cars. In front of us is the Henry Ford Academy High School that was built in the year 1997. School started here already. We have over 500 students enrolled. 9th graders over at the museum and 10th through 12th graders have classes here. Henry Ford always believed that learning to do is by doing. These students can take what they studied in the classroom and then go to the village or the museum and learn firsthand what they studied in the classroom. Vintage railroad cars are for our privileged senior class. Over to the left is our Swanee Lagoon. It helps to mitigate flooding that we might get from heavy rains. And there's a wild turkey there. We'll see more of those. And up the hill is a continuation of our Main Street district where we have the Martha Mary Chapel that Henry Ford built in honor of his mother-in-law, Martha Bryant, and his mother, Mary Ford. Since 1935, many wedding ceremonies have been celebrated here. And today over on the Village Green, we have many historic cars. They're parked there for your enjoyment. We have the Taste of History open today until 3 o'clock. The menu selections come from our historic homes here at the Greenfield Village. Food is locally sourced and brought in fresh daily and very well affordable, lowly priced. Next to that is the Eagle Tavern restaurant. When you step into the doors, you step into 1830, and wait staff dressed in period clothing will hand you a menu with food selections that were popular in that time period. They will be serving meals only until 3 o'clock. We are now coming into the Smiths Creek station. Please remain seated. The engineer will set a brake and give us the sound of a single whistle, letting us know it's safe to come off the train. Way below is Sue, our station master, and there's Bill, our conductor. He's going to be taking over for me. Wait for that whistle. It's safe now to come off the train. Look around and make sure you have everybody and everything you've come on board with, and we thank you for
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Village Railroad. For the safety of our younger riders, we ask that the adults with them place themselves on the outside of the row. If that's not practical, please hold them or have them easily in your reach. Remain seated till we come to a complete stop. Keep arms, legs, and head inside the car. No eating, please. No smoking. Thank you. We're on our way now to the main gate Firestone Station. Smiths Creek Depot is one of the original 28 buildings in Greenfield Village when we opened October 21st of 1929. It's an authentic train depot, comes to us from Smiths Creek, Michigan, about 60 miles north of here, just outside of Fort Huron. Edison Illuminating Company's right across from Smiths Creek, the other brick building. Here's where you can learn how Henry Ford became his chief engineer while still building that quadricycle and getting a lot of encouragement from Thomas Edison to complete that project. The large brick building we're approaching is the Detroit, Toledo, and Milwaukee Roundhouse, originally built in 1884 in Marshall, Michigan, about an hour and a half west of here. We salvaged what we could out of that building, kept anything structurally sound included in this one, and opened it up in 2000. We do all of our service, repair, and maintenance on our 3 coal-fired steam locomotives in that building. We're getting number 1 ready. Number 1, the Edison steam locomotive will be the second steam locomotive we'll be operating today, starting at about 12:30. The largest part of our working farms this week will be on the right side. As we complete the left turn up ahead, the Firestone Farm, built in 1828 in Columbiana County, Ohio, the birthplace and childhood home of Harvey Firestone, the originator of the Tire and Rubber Company, a very good friend of Henry Ford. It's a working farm, 7.5 acres worked year-round, and it's open for you to visit. Approaching the main gate, if you choose to get off here, it's a short walk back to the farmhouse or over to Liberty Prep Works to watch the Artisan, or even to the Model T shop, or a ride throughout the village. Remain seated, please. Wait for the whistle from the engineer. Once you hear that one blast on the whistle, that'll indicate that he has set the air brake and it'll be safe to get up at that time and exit on the right side only. We'll be here for about 7 or 8 minutes and then depart for another round trip.
Oh, is this where we get off? Yes. Right, Catherine?
Along the way, we saw many old running cars show up as we went around.
These cars are in original mint condition.
There was a reenactment of an old community gathering.
Many old cars are up and running and looking great. At the exhibit, as well as in old times, cars had to be repaired along the way, in a family ride, picnic, fishing, outing, whatever the event.
were cars, trucks of all vintage, even police and fire trucks.
As we rounded the static exhibit, we saw early efforts of motorized wagons and bicycles, and other fruits of the imagination of men and women.
Motorbike.
We stopped and had a big foot-long hot dog for lunch before we started our trip back to the bus.
Going off the drop off.
Excuse me?
Watched it all the time.
Well, that takes us all the way to the bus and coming back home.
We do hope you enjoyed this trip with us. We enjoyed you coming along.
Watch for our notices of our next outing in your email on other notifications.
Please subscribe to our channel by clicking on the subscribe button and the like button below, and then on the bell if you'd like to be notified of our next video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.